Welcome to the Business Bravery podcast, inspiring stories from coaches and course creators to help you do the next brave thing in your business. Coming up on the Business Bravery podcast.
So this is how you know that I am in trouble, right? And part of what's going on in this situation, and you may or may not recognize yourself in this situation, is like I'm scrolling the feed and I'm just I'm looking and I'm tired and I'm a little bit unhappy and I am looking for some sort of solution to that. That whole, masculine sales process doesn't really vibe with me and doesn't tend to vibe with other women a lot of the time. And so I get on this call and I'm hopeful, I'm interested to see what this is going to be about. For her, my story is very hard and very confusing because I have been doing this for 10 years. I have tried many things. For anybody who's wondering, it has been my brain that has held me back. It hasn't been marketing strategies. I could make marketing strategies work to a certain extent, but when you have that track I was talking about of like, it's not working, it can be very hard to stick with something. It can be very easy to just move into a new strategy or pivot or something very quickly because the whole it's not working. She's there writing these notes and I'm just trying to work out if we can help you. And she's asking me these questions. 40 minutes she spends on my pain points. 40 minutes, right? And I get it. I haven't always been perfect with this either, but like I'm getting more agitated and I made a comment of like, gosh, actually, you're just making me feel like I can't make anything work, right? And that is not something that you want to hear from someone on a sales call, because I'll bet you if they're saying that, they're in that situation like I was, then they are undoubtedly, definitely in their mind sort of thinking, I don't want to work with you, right? I'm your host, Tiffany Gilliland, an Australian business and launch coach with 10 years experience in online marketing. I help coaches to be brave so they can break through a dry spell and sign their next clients. I'm also the creator of the Brave Launch Framework. I coach, consult, and provide marketing services. Today, I'm being brave and talking about some recent bad experiences I've had on sales calls where I was so upset I had to finish them early. Don't worry, this isn't all about telling you woe is me, people were mean and I cried. This is about some lessons I've learned. One being the ability to actually speak up and end a sales call early instead of sitting through it out of a people-pleasing mentality. Two is the ability to say, actually, no. I appreciate your view, but I am confident and certain in my current strategy, and I'm going to stick to it, especially when it was suggested that I abandon the only thing I'm really enjoying in my business right now. Finally, the issue of empathy in sales. I think it's something that we all can forget. It's definitely not spoken about as much as it could be. Instead, we're told to focus on connecting with struggles. Even I've taught this in the past, but we all have to remember to do it with empathy. Because if you make your clients feel like they can't do anything, then they definitely won't want to work with you or take your courses. For anyone who struggles with sales, this discussion about empathy might be a huge key. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. Hi there, everyone. How are you doing today? In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about ugly tears, discovery calls, and empathy in sales. And while that's kind of a somewhat catchy title that I will probably rework for the actual writing this up and everything, I guess like a little bit more explanation about what I'm going to talk about is these stories. I had a couple of situations. I had one in the last couple of weeks and then another one months before where I was on discovery calls and I was in tears, and so much so that I was like, we need to end this call early. I know I'm never going to buy anything from you. And just how there's a couple of lessons that I've learned from that. And one of those is just the ability to say no. I know what I need. I have faith in my strategy and, I appreciate your input and what I should be changing, but no, I have confidence and certainty and I'm going to keep moving forward on my own. Thanks very much. And also the idea of empathy in sales, which I don't think people talk about enough. And I think it is something that is can be very essential to those of you who are struggling with sales. In fact, I actually want to say those of us who struggle with sales, right? Because sometimes there are days where I'm not feeling it. And then empathy can be that moment of how we can connect with someone and say, hey, you know what, I have a solution. there's so much focus on problem awareness and, connecting with what people are struggling with. And I think often, even myself at times in the past, have forgotten that empathy element and just how important that can be. And so I want to tell this story. The other reason I want to tell this story is because I actually told this on a an Instagram live. Sorry, an Instagram live recently. And I had a number of people who seemed to connect with that and sort of send me messages and comments and things. And so I wanted to also sort of just retell this again on my podcast in maybe a slightly different way. It's never going to come out exactly the same way twice. But for those of you who maybe only connect with me here on the podcast, and I don't know, for future people to find on the podcast, like it can be easier to send people to this story here on the podcast rather than potentially just saying, hey, it's somewhere in my backlog on Instagram, like that, may not help people. So that's why I just wanted to retell this again over here. So let me start with this story, okay, of where I was just a couple of weeks ago. And part of me wants to joke around. It's like, it was a dark and stormy night. No, it wasn't a dark and stormy night, but it started on a Friday afternoon. Okay. I was tired from a long week of probably podcast editing, or maybe that was in my self-care break week, which I had a couple of weeks ago. I can't quite remember, but it was a Friday afternoon. I was definitely tired, and I found myself on Instagram scrolling in the feed. And just so you know, like, this is not something that I normally do. Like, when I go to Instagram to connect with people, I have certain steps that I take, and they don't involve letting Instagram decide for me who I'm going to like interact with. I have people, like, there's people in my DMs all the time now. Love you guys. Thank you for chatting with me. And, just connecting with people in the DMs. And then there's people that I know who I want to see what they've put out recently and just sort of connect with them because I get inspired from them as well. And then, there's like new people I'm trying to find and things like that. And just none of that usually involves just being on the feed scrolling. So this is how you know that I am in trouble, right? And part of what's going on in this situation, and you may or may not recognize yourself in this situation, is like I'm scrolling the feed and I'm looking, and I'm tired and I'm a little bit unhappy, and I am looking for some sort of solution to that. And I don't mean that I'm unhappy, like I need a new boyfriend, or I mean, I have a husband, but maybe I need a new boyfriend. I don't know. But I don't know why I went for that. But it's like, I don't sort of mean I'm looking like I'm unhappy in life. It's always I'm unhappy with my business, because I think I've talked about this on my Instagram. I don't know how much I've talked about it here, but something that I am working on at the moment is this one track in my mind that is always, it's not working, the business isn't working. Okay. And just for those of you who don't know me so well, I have been in business for 10 years. Well, I've been in online marketing for 10 years. I've been building my business on the side for the last 6 of those. But even before I was building my own business, I was helping other people build businesses, and I just always approach it in this very entrepreneurial way. So I've been building these entrepreneurial skills for quite some time. And it can be a very well-worn pathway in my brain of it saying it's not working. Just for some other context, and I am bouncing around stories here, but just for some other context, even in my health, when I get on the scales, like recently over the last couple of years, I have lost something like I've lost 20 odd kilos, which is about 40 plus pounds. Okay. 1 kilo is 2.2 pounds. Those of you who can do maths, yay! Maybe you can message me and tell me what that is in pounds. Tangent. Won't go down that tangent. But just so you know, like, even when I was dropping weight and I was getting on the scale and I could see that the number had moved down, my brain looks at the lower number and says it's not working. So why is that, right? This is this whole other thing of like, not every thought in your brain is true. Anyway, I have gone on some tangents here, but just so you know this about me. So this is going through my mind, it's not working. Now, I, of course, have a coach, an amazing business coach who I spend thousands of dollars with, who I could be messaging at this time. But I also know that it is in the middle of the night in America. She won't see it for hours, and I'm sure I'll be through this. So it's Friday afternoon. I'm just, I'm looking for some sort of solution. And I'm also telling myself I'm tired. I can just scroll Instagram for a little bit. And inevitably, what happens when you are scrolling on Instagram is you get the sponsored post. And for me, it's always these like flashy videos of other entrepreneurs. And they're like, hey, we have this solution. And you know what? It's not all of these other things that you're working hard doing. It's this other new solution. Because that's what we're all taught in marketing, right? It's like, hey, we have this solution and it's different to the other ones and it's one solution. And the first one comes up and it's got its flashy words and all that sort of thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I get it, I know what you're doing, and I will scroll past, right? And then I keep scrolling a bit, and then a few minutes later the second one comes up, and then I stop longer on it, and then the algorithm of the ads, the Facebook and Instagram algorithm, it knows that I'm like looking at these longer. So then I watch it and I'm thinking about it. I'm just like, no, I know what's going on. I'm okay with my strategy. And then inevitably I keep scrolling, and then the third one comes up, and it's always the third one with me, and they know this, like this is all in their algorithm, right? And if you're listening to this and wanting to know more about that or whatever, you should definitely talk to me, because obviously I do ads and things for clients and can help you with that side of things. But this is how it gets me. It's the third one. It's the one I click on, and I'm like, oh, and it's somebody with an Australian accent too. I don't know why somebody with an Australian accent like myself, who just sort of like breaks through the noise and then gets through. And the other thing about this was, it was this kind of vague advertisement of like, okay, so it's not webinars, it's not this, it's not that, and all these things that I've seen, that it's like, oh, that's not going to get you clients, it's this thing, and it's vague and it doesn't tell me what it is. So then I have to click. I am a marketer. You can, I'm a marketer. Right? I want to make a joke about you can take the girl out of the marketer, but I can't work out that right now. But I'm a marketer first and foremost, and I need to know, like, is there some new thing? Is this a new trend? Because of course that's what I'm telling myself. It's like, oh, I need to know what this is. There's also a part of me is like, oh, could this solve my problem? Because I'm working on lead generation, and I have seen a lot of ads for these businesses who like, will do lead generation for you and also appointment setting. And I vaguely understand what appointment setting could be, but I'm very curious. It's like, okay, all right. So just so you know, it's like, it's not that I'm looking for a solution to my entire business. It's just this one part. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this could help. I'm interested to know more. And then as what happens, I inevitably end up in this whole chat sequence, and they start messaging me. There's a little bro marketer on the other end. He's like, so do you want to scale your business? And I don't know why I said that in an American accent, but it was clearly, it's an Australian company, but it's probably, I'm most likely talking to somebody in the Philippines at this point, right? I have no illusions about what's going on. I've been doing this for too long. And if I'm ruining your bubble, then I apologize. But yes, I'm like probably talking to someone. They've got a script, they're copying and pasting, or they've got some sort of engine behind this where they can just hit a button and it comes out to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, right. I know that because I know it's not standard responses, because it fits in with what I'm saying. So I know that there is actually someone on the other end. And then he asks me this question, and then I'm like, oh man, I'm shaking all over. And like, I don't know, do I want to scale my business? What does he mean by scale? Does he think millions of dollars? I'm not at that point. And I put it down, right? And just for anybody listening to this is some really interesting insight into how people are thinking when you're interacting with them on the other side of these conversations or things. And we often forget that. And like, from our perspective, it's like, hey, so do you want to scale your business? And it should be like this easy answer. Or, do you want to improve your health? Do you want to lose some weight or something? And then it's just understanding that on the other side, there can be this just turmoil of different options and things that they might be thinking and going through. And part of it is, what does this mean and how much is this going to cost me? And do I trust you? So anyway, this, just so you know, I did not go into this level of detail on my Instagram when I was telling this. So just anyway, so many insights here that I'm pulling apart as I'm telling the story. And yeah, eventually, like, I just, I put it down, but it's sitting in the back of my mind. And then curiosity always gets the better of me. And I pick up the phone and I answer back and we make an appointment. Now, just for some other context, and just want to switch to this other story, the thing that happened to me months ago, like, this is not the first time that I have been in this situation. So there is a massive amount of bravery here. Business Bravery podcast. How many minutes in? I haven't even mentioned bravery. But it's a massive amount of bravery for me to even like commit to a time, putting it on my calendar. Like, I'm not going to no show. I'm going to show up and see what this is all about. But the bravery is that months ago, before I even hired my current business coach, I was in the same situation, again with an Australian firm, and they were helping with lead generation. And I was like, oh, okay, Australians, awesome. It'll be on my time zone. I like this. And I got into this thing. And, we did in that situation, I ended up on a phone call with someone. He asked me some questions and I was like, oh, okay, here's where I'm up to, that kind of thing. And then, we booked in a time that was their appointment setter. They asked some qualifying questions. They booked me in for a time. And then he sent me this link to a website thing. And I'm just looking at my timer. I didn't want this to go for too long. So he sent me a link to his timer and, not timer. He sent me a link to this web page. This is quite common, right? You sign up for something and before you get on the call, you go to this web page and it has, here's what we're about, with videos and always testimonials. And that helps prime people before you get on a call with them, especially when you're generating people through ads. It's not like they've been following you for months and they have this know, like, and trust built up. So it's a way to build up this know, like, and trust and help in the sales call. This is very common. I'm a marketer, I'm savvy, I know what's going on, right? I'm joking about that, of course, but like, I know what's going on. I get on the call with that guy months ago and he is sort of agitated. He is not looking at the camera. He's like looking to the left because obviously my picture must be on the left. He's not looking at the camera at all. And just so you know, like, he is a salesperson as a representative of a coach that I'll be working with. I don't even know who the coach is. And him as a salesperson, and this is quite common with these salespeople, it's like, I don't even know if they've ever had a business. I don't even really know, like, that they kind of get it. It's like they understand business from this textbook learning perspective, but maybe not necessarily from this whole perspective of, oh, okay, I've been in business, I know what it's like, because it is so different learning this versus actually being in it and doing it. It's entirely different. It's like learning to swim from a textbook and then actually getting in and swimming in the pool. It's just totally different, or in the sea even, totally different again. So anyway, through this call, he's going through the pain points and he's asking me all of the questions. And as we're diving in further and further, and he's not looking at me, he's not saying anything. And I know this is how we're taught how to do sales calls is, don't get too emotionally involved and things like that. But just as we're going through this, like, I'm tearing up, I'm getting upset, we're going through all of my mistakes. And it's like, I'm just looking for a solution to a particular problem. I don't want to go through all of my past mistakes. I know the mistakes that got me here. I know what I need to do. Like, yeah, I just, and I'm getting more and more frustrated and angry, and he's not even connecting with me or even sort of acknowledging the fact that I'm crying particularly. And I'm just feeling worse and worse. And it's like, I know what you're doing to me in this situation. You are breaking me down to nothing so that then the idea is that you have a solution and then I have to take it. I'm like, no, right? I'm not going to fall for that, right? And just as some other background, if I'd have been on this call 2 years ago, I would have just sat through the call very awkwardly and been thinking about, okay, what mistake, not mistake, what excuse am I going to use for not working with you? Because I know I don't want to work with you, but I don't want to hurt your feelings. I know you put a lot into this. You're a salesperson. And so I'd be thinking about what is that excuse, right? And then it'd be like, oh, okay, my husband, oh no, I don't have enough money. There we go, the money one. You can't come at me with that, because if I don't have the money in my account, well then that's it. So that's what I would have done a couple of years ago. In that situation a few months ago though, right as he turned around and said, so, would you like to know what we can do to help and that kind of stuff? And I just said, actually, no, I want to end the call here. I know that this is not the right fit for me. Oh, really? Can you tell me more about that? And it's just like, look, this isn't the right fit. I didn't really come to be broken down to nothing. I don't really feel the need to have to buy something from you, and I'm going to leave. And this is the thing, because like then the salesperson is always saying to you, oh, but if you want to change things, then you need to make a change. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm going to make a change with anybody but you. And that's because there's no empathy in the sales conversation, right? And this is where this thing that gets missed. And I kind of want to talk about this in terms for people who struggle with empathy in sales, or people who struggle with sales. That empathy could be a great thing to connect with, and just having empathy through the sales process. It's like, hey, I'm here to genuinely help you, and I really understand what you're going through. Even if I haven't necessarily been through it myself, my clients have. I understand the frustrations and what you're going through, and there's no need to make yourself feel bad so that you have to come work with me. And I think this is essential as coaches, even essential as course creators, and that kind of thing, when we're connecting and trying to help people in this way. And I don't think we talk about it enough. And I do want to say this as someone who, I've gotten it wrong in the past too, and it's just like, this is something valuable. So I went through that process a number of months ago, and then I find myself, I've booked in for this call, and I'm just sitting there going, I hope this is not like last time. I really don't want it to be like last time. And I get on this call. This time I'm with a female, a woman. I'm like, okay, this might work a bit better. That whole, masculine sales process doesn't really vibe with me, and doesn't tend to vibe with other women a lot of the time. And so I get on this call, and I'm hopeful, I'm interested to see what this is going to be about. And I connect with this other girl. We have a bit of a conversation. She is Australian like me, but again, she seems to be a salesperson, and I don't have any understanding of whether or not she's actually had a business of her own. And again, it's that feeling of book learning of those different things, right? So we go through this conversation, and for her, especially with her book learning of business, right? And, what business should be and things like that. It's a case like, for her, my story is very hard and very confusing, because I have been doing this for 10 years. I have tried many things. I mean, I've been in online marketing for 10 years. And then when I started my business, so I had a lot of marketing background, and then I started my business. And for anybody who's wondering, it has been my brain that has held me back. It hasn't been marketing strategies. I could make marketing strategies work to a certain extent, but when you have that track I was talking about of like, it's not working, it can be very hard to stick with something. It can be very easy to just move into a new strategy or pivot or something very quickly, because it's not working. And then if you add into that the fact that I'm kind of a quick start, I like to move quickly and not overthink and overplan, and that's how I work best. And then I was learning business from a lot of people who were like, no, you've got to really plan and really sit down and really nut it out, and that doesn't vibe for me. So a number of things have held me back, as well as, like I used to get clients through Facebook ads. Then they changed things with Facebook, and then the same ads ended up costing me twice as much, and they weren't getting me the right leads. And so then I had to move into more organic strategies and things like that. And just, learning these skills and that kind of thing. It's just, she's there writing these notes, and I'm just trying to work out if we can help you. And she's asking me these questions. 40 minutes she spends on my pain points. 40 minutes, right? And I get it. I haven't always been perfect with this either, but like, I'm getting more agitated, and I made a comment of like, gosh, actually, you're just making me feel like I can't make anything work, right? And that is not something that you want to hear from someone on a sales call, because I'll bet you if they're saying that, they're in that situation like I was, then they are undoubtedly, definitely in their mind sort of thinking, I don't want to work with you, right? You're making me feel like I can't make anything work, then I definitely don't trust you to do coaching with me. So yeah, this is where I'm in this situation and I'm getting sort of agitated and things. I can't and I had been crying a bit, but it wasn't the same as the guy months before, because luckily in between times I have done a lot more work on my mindset. And so yeah, we're in a different situation. But it's still I'm sitting here and going, okay, crying, that kind of thing. And then she's asking me questions of like, okay, so I need to know that you can put in the work. It's like, look, man, putting in the work isn't a problem. I can do the work all day long. It is a case of working smarter for me. But she didn't want to hear that. Like, okay, fine. And then she said, look, I know that you've got this podcast, but I want you to focus on revenue generating activities, because you're not making enough money and that kind of thing, and you would need to give up the podcast. And right then I just like, this thing snapped inside me, right? Because just for those of you who may or may not know, before I started this podcast, I was miserable in my business, and I was just, I was unhappy. I wasn't connecting with people so well. I wasn't enjoying it, and the money was middling and trucking along, but still, it didn't light me up. When I started this podcast, I didn't want to start this podcast until I had made 6 figures, because I thought of the time and I'd want to hire people and everything like that. But the problem was that I just felt cold, and it was just really frustrating me. And then my coach said to me, she said, what would you be doing in your business if you already had $1 million in the bank? And it's like, oh, easy. I would start the podcast. I would create a community. I would be promoting people all the time and not worrying about whether or not it was necessarily leading to money. I would be building that community and connecting with people and things. So I thought, okay, you know what, let's do this. This is what I've been told could work. I mean, I've been trying it the other way for years. I was miserable and unhappy and very close to closing down my business. So, hey, I haven't tried everything. Let's just try it this way. Let's just try it the wrong way around. I've seen people break the rules and make money plenty of times. And like, so far, I mean, I'm only a few episodes in, but this has changed everything in my business, right? I get to connect with people. I get to talk to them about bravery, and that breaks through the noise, because it's just, we all want to celebrate having been brave and the brave things we're going to do. And this is just like, my reaction on that call was like, you're not taking away the one thing I really enjoy in my business. Like, I mean, for me, like, yeah, I am planning and everything for this to lead into some people hiring me to help them do brave things in their business, like launches, get on camera, that kind of stuff. Just finding clients and things like that, and that sort of thing. But on the same token, I mean, I am just happy connecting and just sharing other people's stories and just sort of building this community around this idea of bravery and bravery in business. It's something I'm very passionate about and I light up. Like last week, I went to a networking event, and normally when I go to networking events, like online and things, and it's like, oh yeah, hey, I'm a launch coach, I help you launch, and people glaze over because most people don't even want that. When I went in last week, or I think it's 2 weeks ago now, and I said, oh, hey, I'm on this quest to impact coaches to do brave things in their business, and I have this podcast. I'm fascinated with bravery and just the stories and all that kind of thing. Like 5 or 6 people lit up and said, oh my gosh, I need to talk to you. They reached out to me afterwards. They booked in coffee chats. I had no idea there was this secret world of networking that happens after the networking call, where people get on one-on-one coffee chats and things like that. that hasn't happened to me before. I haven't been able to connect like that. So it's just interesting that I know on paper, my business, it's not earning as much money as I would like. I have a solid amount of money coming in each month, but I'm still investing extra in coaching and, some of my expenses. And I'm okay with that because I know it's going to work out in the end. I see the vision. But it's just so interesting that, on paper, even if I was in that other person's shoes, I'd be like, hey, is this podcast really what you want to be doing? It's like, no. You're not taking it away from me. Like, I love this work, even if it ends up that people don't want to work with me, but I end up maybe being an affiliate person and selling other people's stuff. Like, I just love building this connection around bravery. And so, it was just a case of, nope, I know absolutely in this call, you are not the person for me. And if that's going to be the pressure you're going to put on me all the time, then we are not aligned and this isn't right. And so that's, when she said, hey, do you want me to tell you about what we can do? And I said, oh, look, actually, I already know that this is not the right fit for me, even though I'm like crying and things. And part of me, of course, doesn't want to work with someone who feels the need to, it's okay if somebody asks me some questions and I get a bit teary about some of the stuff. We all have that in our past, right? Especially if we've been doing this for a long time. But that the lack of empathy, just the lack of, hey, I understand where you're coming from and that kind of thing, it was just like, by the time she got round to that empathy, it was just a little too late for me. And it just, so she did try, but it didn't come off right because, again, I didn't have that trust, the trust you get from following someone for a while, at least for me. Sometimes I find people and hire them straight away, but oftentimes, I'm following a coach for quite some time, getting to know them. It's a very personal decision because you are really trusting someone. And like when it comes to coaching, there's a big mental element and you're trusting someone else with your mind. And even if people don't understand that, like if you're a health coach and your people don't 100% understand that, there is still, you need to know that the other person on the other side has empathy and can connect and isn't necessarily going to be there going, you've got to try harder when you have given it 120%. So not that that's what this girl was doing on this call, but it's just, I knew it wasn't right. And again, I just said, look, we need to end this here because I know that this isn't aligned. And she said, oh, look, but I haven't even told you what we do. And I said, look, I was sent the website. I know what you guys do. And also, like, the fact that you want me to give up the podcast, like, I know from your perspective how that is, but I have confidence and certainty in this strategy for me. Like, this is what's working. This is what is allowing me to connect with people and build a community. And again, you're not taking that thing that I enjoy, right? Even if you can't see the vision, here's my vision. I know it's going to work. And it is working. Like, within days of me making that decision, I had half a dozen guest spots booked. Now, a couple of weeks later, I am booking, like, all of my slots are booked. Like, I do the recordings one per week, and I have all of the slots booked. Like, I'm booking them in July already. So I have months. I've been doing them one a week for a couple of weeks now. So, and every time I'm talking to someone, it's like, it's another day, another podcast guest booked. Like, I've got the links out to a number of people. They're taking their time to book. They're going to miss out on slots if they don't hurry up. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just, other people see the vision and they are excited to be part of this, even though I am new at this. I'm still building my skills in podcasting, especially interviewing people. And it's just, other people can just see it and they vibe with it. And this is something, and you can't take it away. And this is what I want to do with my clients, right? I want my clients to be as confident and certain in their choices. Like, it's not about me giving them strategies and them going, okay, I'll do it because my coach said it. It's about finding the strategies that they vibe with, as weird as that sounds. And then, like, together we, implement those strategies and, manage the mind through it. Because like I said, the mind is going to throw up these thoughts. They may not be true, but things like it's not working, that kind of stuff. I had a client just yesterday who actually not even just yesterday, a week or so ago, she was saying, I need more clients. I need more clients. And it's like, hang on, we have 5 people who are in your pipeline who want to work with you, who are just negotiating start dates. So you need to change that voice in your mind. You need to change that thought or work on that thought, because if you keep telling yourself you don't have enough clients, what you resist persists. You will act in ways that can sort of push them away from you, that kind of thing. And especially if you have that, I need more clients, it usually creates some sort of desperate energy, and that people pick up on that subconsciously and they sort of move back. So again, it's that, no, actually, hey, I have 5 people who want to work with me. That is amazing. I have clients. And just reinforcing, I have clients and things like that. Anyway, this is what I do to help people bust through those dry spells and income dips and just increase their clients, that sort of thing. And it's about building that confidence and certainty and being able to, when you have someone who is challenging your strategy, to say, no, I am okay with this. Like it may happen that months down the road or something like that, I might turn around and go, oh, you know what? Hey, this isn't actually working, but I'm a few weeks in. It's way too early for me to give this up. It's one of the things that I've learned the hardest way, has been the whole thing about just continuing, like not giving up too quickly and being able to stick with something, which can be hard for someone who's a bit more of a quick start like me. It's just, I can be looking for the next shiny thing, or, things get boring, especially things like creating a podcast. There is a lot of the same tasks over and over again that we do each week, that I do each week, right? As part of podcast creation, which sometimes can be hard for my brain. It's like it's looking for something new and interactive or something. So things like that whole understanding your mind, understanding how you work, understanding these things and being able to work through them and not just react. I was reactionary for so many years, and if I'd have just learnt these skills even a year earlier, I would be in a completely different place now. Of course, we're all on our own timeline, but again, that's why I'm just so passionate about this. So the other part of just what I'm passionate about is that empathy in sales. And I know I've been working it through this episode, but just something to just think about, of just, we're taught to do that problem awareness, but don't do the problem awareness or, connecting with the struggles and the pain points so hard that you don't have the empathy. Because if somebody feels bad about themselves and then they don't feel like they have the ability to get any results, then they're definitely not going to buy from you. So that is not going to help you get clients. And I think it's something that we can all maybe fall into and maybe forget, especially for me. I'm just so keen to connect with people and help them see that there could be another way of doing things. And yeah, this is just as much for me as it is for you guys, but just that empathy in sales, and especially if you struggle with it. So I hope that these stories have been interesting to you. I hope that they have highlighted something. Me sharing this whole thing about me crying on discovery calls and stuff. And yeah, I guess maybe like you could think about, oh, what does this say about her? But hey, I'm a human. I make mistakes. I am quite hard on myself. I don't need other people to be hard on me. And I would imagine a lot of our clients and things like that would also be similar. So thank you so much for listening. Yeah, I'm going to finish this up now and just let you know that I appreciate you for listening. And yeah, thank you so much. And that's it from me. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's TIFFANY. G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on, and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany, and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.